Rejoice in the Lord always. Always. Really? Really, Lord? Always? Paul wrote this from prison, and he says, rejoice always? You have to wonder if Paul was just a little out of touch with things, had spent way too much time on his own. Surely he meant rejoice when the going is good. Rejoice when everything is tickety-boo. Certainly not when our lives have taken a different turn. I guess Paul didn't have the same stresses that we do. Oh wait, there was the matter of being beaten, imprisoned, and sentenced to death. Maybe he had a little bit of stress, but that is not to make light of what challenges you. We all have our challenges. Jesus said, in this life, we will all face challenges. We will all face troubles. In John 16:33, he says, I have said this to you, so that in me you may have peace. In the world you will face persecution, troubles, challenges, and troubles produce anxiety. It's just a fact of life. Anxiety and stress cause a whole lot of problems for us. Another way to read this verse would be, don't let anything in life leave you perpetually breathless and in angst. But it does. We let our anxiety rule us sometimes. I want to give you just a couple of statistics. Across the board, Canadians are encountering more stress, depression, and suicidal thoughts than ever before. In a recent study reported by Global Media, 36% of Canadians admitted that several times a year they felt stressed to the point where it impacted their daily lives. Another 24% said that there were several instances in which they felt stressed to the point where they felt they couldn't even cope. 19% said they felt depressed to the point where they felt sad or hopeless almost every day for a couple of weeks or more. And 7% said they seriously considered suicide or self-harm more than once in the past year too. So if you're doing the math, that's 86% of us. So if you think that it's just you, no, you're not alone. Depression and anxiety were the most prevalent causes of employee absenteeism. It affects the workplace. And according to the Journal of American Medical Association, people of each generation in the 20th century were 3 times more likely to experience depression than the previous generation. And it affects all of us, of all ages. If you think adolescence, that's the time of fun and frivolity, no, our teens are feeling anxious as well. One student told Global News, exams stress me out. Another said, I feel a little panicky and nervous because I don't think I'm going to get everything done. And still another said, I think social stress is 10 times worse than homework stress. These are just some of the things our teens are grappling with. And listen to this one. American psychologist Dr. Robert Leahy reports that, and I want you to hear this, the average child today exhibits the same level of anxiety as the average psychiatric patient in the 1950s. That's frightening. Anxiety is prevalent in our society. Anxiety is this media shower of what ifs and if only. If only I were thinner, I'd have a good life. If only I were richer, I'd have the good life. If only the kids would come. If only the kids would go. If only I could leave home, move home, get married, get divorced. If only my skin were clear of pimples, my calendar free of people, my profession immune to layoffs, then I would have the good life. Does it seem like the good life is just one if only away? One purchase away, one promotion away, one election, one transition, one romance away? If so, then we're starting to see where our anxiety comes from. It's these if-onlys that we have set for ourselves. The good life. Does the good life, is that if only, is what's standing between us and the good life? Not so, the Apostle Paul says. He says, when your attitude changes towards challenge, then our life and our circumstances won't cause us anxiety. So he says to us, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. He has to repeat it because they're not going to get it. If only we could order our lives the way we order gourmet coffee. Wouldn't it be nice to mix and match the ingredients of our future? Give me, let's see, a tall, extra hot cup of adventure. Cut the dangers with 2 shots of good health, please. Oh, I'll take a decaf brew of longevity, please, with a sprinkle of fertility. Go heavy on the agility and just cut out the disability. I'll have the pleasure mocha with extra stirrings of indulgence. Make sure it's consequence-free. I'll go with the grande happy latte, please, with a dollop of love sprinkled with Caribbean retirement. Take me to that coffee shop. But we know it doesn't exist. Truth is, life often hands us a concoction that is not what we asked for, entirely different than what we requested. Did you ever feel like the barista up in heaven above called your name and handed you a cup of unwanted stress? Joe Smith, enjoy your early retirement. Looks like it comes with marital problems and inflation. Mary Adams, you ordered 4 years of university education followed by that perfect job. Well, let's just add a dollop of student debt to that. Sam, I have a grande with cancer, extra shot of chemo and radiation on the sides. A hot cup of single motherhood, or at least what feels like it. Would you like some patience with that? Life comes caffeinated with surprises, with modifications, with challenges, with transitions, with adjustment, with changes. You move down the ladder. You move out of the house you've lived in for years, over for the new guy, up through the system that doesn't seem to help at all. All of this moving, all of these changes, some welcome, most not. We might request a decaffeinated life, but we don't often get it. None of us passes through this life surprise-free, change-free, and that causes us anxiety. But change isn't just part of life, it is a necessary part of God's strategy for us. To use us, God makes reassignments. God transitioned Joseph from a baby brother to a prince in Egypt. He changed David from a shepherd to a king. Peter just wanted to fish in the Sea of Galilee. He made him the leader of the church. God makes reassignments. Over time, we discover that the thing that we thought we wanted is far less satisfying than what God has prepared for us. But we don't like change. We don't want change. We want to stomp our feet and say no. We want to be in control of our lives. And we aren't. And that makes us anxious. You see, when we perceive that we are in control, then we get a measure of calm. It's like when you are driving in a car, you really like to perceive that you are in control when you're the driver, rather than the person in the passenger seat who's stomping on the brake and holding onto the dash. That causes us anxiety, this lack of control. And this anxiety increases for us. Because the more stressed out people are the people who are control freaks. Let's just put it out there. The more they try to control their worlds, the more they realize they can't. And that realization creates a cycle of anxiety and failure, and anxiety and failure, and anxiety and failure, because we can't take control. Control is not ours to take. Rather than taking control, we need to learn to relinquish control. We can't run the world, even our world, but we can relinquish it and trust it to God. And let's face it, God's already doing it. Hear God's words for if-onlys in Philippians. I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or living in want. I can do this through Him who gives me strength. To rejoice in the Lord means to trust in God's control. If we are willing, and we have to be willing, to relinquish our worries and our stresses and our anxieties to God and let God be in control, I have to believe that our anxieties will start to decrease. God is the one who is in charge of everything in our lives, every detail. He isn't making up the plan as He goes along. He has always known His plan for you. We read in Jeremiah 29, "For surely I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans for your welfare and not for harm, to give you a future with hope." The ultimate proof of God's want of our well-being is His gift to us of His Son, who went to the cross. That dark day in history, God not only knew it, He let it happen. He made it happen for us. Everyone thought that Jesus was dead, but God took that crucifixion and He turned it into Easter. Can He not do a reversal for you? I am sorry for the pain that life has caused you. I'm sorry if your parents neglected you. I'm sorry if your boss ignores you, or worse yet, fires you. I'm sorry if a heartbreaker said I do on that day and has said every day since I don't. I'm sorry if you are inappropriately touched, intentionally mocked, or unfairly dismissed, but we have a choice. We can wear our hurt, or we can wear our hope. We can outfit ourselves in our misfortune, or we can clothe ourselves in God's providence. We can cave in to the pandemonium of life, or we can lean in to the perfect plan that God has for us. Your Father in heaven has never left you, will never leave you, will never drop you, holds out hands that are steady for you to grasp. Place yourself in his care. And as you do, you'll find that it is possible, yes, possible, to be anxious for nothing. It is possible to find calm in the chaos. Can I have the next slide? Calm, celebrate, rejoice in the Lord always. Ask, leave, meditate. We're going to talk about these in the next few weeks. Calm in the chaos. God is willing to give us that calm. With God as your guide, if he's the one in control, you're going to find that calm. It's going to require some work on your part. And I don't really mean to give you the impression that this one little pep talk is going to just take away all your anxiety. In fact, for some of you, God's healing will include therapy or medication. And if that's the case, don't think that God has forgotten you, that you're second-class citizens. Ask God to lead you to a good therapist or a good doctor who will help you. This is sure. It is not God's will that you should live in perpetual anxiety. It is not his will that you should get up every morning and face the day with dread and trepidation. He made you for more than a life of breath-stealing angst and mind-splitting worry. Will you join me for the next 4 weeks and learn how God can offer you that amazing calm? I hope you will. Amen.